It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us make them remember we are not afraid!
No fear here on Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock, each and every day from Freedom's Phoenix Farm here in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm really excited to talk to our next guest. Pepe Escobar is a foreign correspondent that's been writing for Asia Times, and he's been doing this, foreign correspondent thing since '85. And reading his articles, we've had some of your stuff on Freedom's Phoenix before, Pepe, but I tell you, to consolidate in not even 1,000 words, every single paragraph just references all the stuff that we've known or suspected and puts it into one article, and it's like, boom, slap upside the head of the Obama administration, U.S. foreign policy in general, the House of C.I.A. I mean, it's just what's going on in North Africa right now. Now, I want to go ahead and give you an opportunity, right, because we only have an hour, and after looking at this stuff, we could have gone 3. So I want you to go ahead and talk about, the deal that was made between the United States and whoever the heck behind them, pulling the strings there, and Saudi Arabia as it pertains to United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Libya. Get us right into it, Pepe. Go ahead.
Well, Ernest, thanks very much for your lovely introduction. I think it's a matter of making a few connections. Like today, Friday, finally, we could organize what was being suspected among BRIC countries in Western Europe, some parts of Asia, and across the Middle East. That there is a direct link between the Western attack, the Anglo-French-American attack on Libya, and the fact that the situation in Bahrain, which is quite similar, maybe with not so many dead and wounded, but still is the same thing, including an invasion from Saudi Arabian forces, there is a direct link. And we got our confirmation from 2 different diplomats. We obtained this information independently, and they both said that, yes, a deal was struck between the House of Saud and the Obama administration. As long as the House of Saud made sure there was a vote for a no-fly zone within the Arab League, and that was the basis for UN Resolution 1973, that would be the okay for the U.S. to intervene in Libya. So we have been stressing this for weeks now in every progressive website, obviously not Western mainstream media, have been making some kind of connection. Now we have a direct connection from diplomats at the UN. Obviously, these diplomats, we cannot. I wish I could reveal their names. And Ambassador Craig Murray, former UK ambassador in Uzbekistan, he's following the same story as well. In fact, I'm waiting to get an email from him to get his side of the investigation. And these sources are European and among the BRIC countries. It's very important to remember that UN Resolution 1973, these 4 BRIC countries, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, the top emerging powers of the future, plus Germany, they all abstained, which in the rigid diplomatic protocol of the UN means they don't agree with it. And in fact, one of the diplomats I talked to, he told me explicitly that we were raising the same objections together, among them, the 4 BRIC countries. The resolution is too vague, it's open-ended, it's open belligerence on both sides. It doesn't say expressly that it's a humanitarian mission, because there's that famous paragraph that
Any and all
relates to the paragraph
means,
of the previous. Exactly. Relates to the paragraph of the previous resolution 1970, leaves it open the possibility of arming the rebels, which is exactly what's happening from the part of the Americas and the BRICS, and the French, who had been doing this for, I would say, at least 2 weeks now, because they've been in the Benghazi area for more than 2 weeks now. And on top of it, they were making the same objections that Bahrain, Yemen were similar cases to Libya. And the Germans were also saying the same thing. Plus, there's a very strong pacifist streak among some of the BRIC countries, and I'm talking specifically about Brazil and Germany as well. But now we have the proof from the inside that there was a trade-off, and all these 5 major powers, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and Germany, we cannot get involved into it. At least this is our very diplomatic way of saying we don't agree.
Okay, now I got to ask a question.
And then go a French-American operation.
I got to ask a question on how this actually goes down in the United Nations, because I choose not to care, what the United Nations does. But of course, that doesn't mean they're not going to go out and cause mayhem. Now, the thing is that isn't there a capacity for a veto from the Security Council on these resolutions, or was it outside of that?
Yes, there is. But the thing is, it's a very complex geopolitical game.
Well, no, I understand. I just wondered, China did have the capacity to say no and stop the whole thing, right?
They did, but China foreign policy, Ernest, is extremely subtle. Don't underestimate the fact that they have been conducting foreign policy for 5,000 years now, at least. They were always thinking 4 or 5 moves ahead. They're thinking, okay, we won't antagonize the Europeans and the Americans this time, because later on, we can always tell them, look, when you needed us, we didn't say anything. Now when we need you, you won't go against us. So they're always thinking moves ahead. And the Russians, there was a split inside the Russian leadership, which became public a few days ago between Putin and Medvedev. Medvedev was in favor, more or less in favor. I wouldn't say favor, but more inclined to accept the resolution. And Putin, remember when Putin said that this was a new crusade a few days ago? So there was a split right at the top. And Brazil and India were totally against it, and Germany reflected inside the European Union, inside NATO.
What benefit do they have by not vetoing? I'm wondering what deal was struck with China and Russia and Germany. And, I mean, this is a much wider deal, conspiracy, whatever the heck. I mean, who's running this planet? And you look at, one of the things that you brought...
You pose a very pertinent question, Ernest, because we still don't know what kind of carrots the Americans, especially, because the Brits and the French, they are side actors in this whole drama. What kind of carrots the Americans offer especially to the Chinese and the Russians? We still don't know. It's going to take a while to find out.
When we come back, we're going to be hitting the break here in less than a minute, and I wanted to make sure that we there's so much I want to talk about, the players on the international scale, but there was a deal that was kind of maneuvered amongst the Arab League also, that you have.
Yes, yes, you're right, and if I can put it in 20 seconds, this was a Saudi Arabia operation. Saudi Arabia maneuvered to get the Arab League no-fly vote with only 11 members of the 22-member Arab League. So I'll break it down for you. 6 of them are the GCC, the Gulf Cooperation Council countries. This means Saudi Arabia and the Sheikh-doms and the Emirates. Syria and Algeria were against it. So there were 3 left that had to be, I would say, seduced by Saudi Arabia. That was very easy. So in the end, with 9 votes among 22, they passed a resolution supporting the no-fly zone. So basically, this was a GCC, Saudi Arabia-style operation, and the whole Arab League.
When we come back, we're going to find out exactly how this all came about, who benefits, why, and what corporate logo's behind it, if we even know. Is there a global corporate logo? Is it the business end of a gun, the United Nations doing something for... I don't know. We're going to find out.